The first sign should have been how quiet the hospital room was. No heart monitor, no nurses, no machines. Just white walls, my breathing, and the echo of what I'd just overheard minutes earlier, words that made my blood freeze even before I opened my eyes all the way. "How soon can we file the death certificate?" My mother's voice asked, soft and clipped like she was confirming a hotel reservation. I didn't move. "And the payout?" my father asked. "It'll be what $500K from her work policy and another $200K from our joint coverage?" "I'm sorry," the nurse replied cautiously. "She's still alive. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." "She won't be for long," my mom snapped, as if I was being rude for not dying fast enough. "She took an entire bottle of pills. You don't come back from that." "She's on life support," the nurse reminded her gently. There was a pause. My father sighed like he was bored. "So, if she's not declared dead yet, we can't file." That was when I understood. They were waiting for me to die, not because they were scared or in pain, because they had a number in their heads, a payout, a $sign attached to the daughter they couldn't wait to cash in on. I shut my eyes again before they noticed I was awake. They didn't say, "We love her." They didn't ask if I'd be okay. They asked about timing. And they were impatient. 3 hours later, they were gone. The nurse returned and adjusted my IV. I opened my eyes fully for the first time. She gasped softly, "You're awake?" I nodded. My throat burned like I'd swallowed razors, but I managed to whisper, "I want a cop, not them, please." She didn't ask why. She just pressed the call button and told the front desk, "Patient's conscious, requesting police presence." That's how I met Officer Caleb Monroe. Not flashy, not loud, just observant, calm. And when I told him everything down to the smallest word, he didn't blink. He said one sentence that changed everything. "You want to disappear?" he asked. I looked up at him from my hospital bed and whispered, "I want them to think I'm dead." He exhaled through his nose, thought for a second, then said, "All right, but you're gonna have to make it believable." And so we planned it. Down to the hour, the moment. The pills? My own parents planted them in my room the week before, thinking I was spiraling after losing my job. They gave me a sleep blend and told neighbors I was depressed. They were setting the scene. So we decided to use it. The hospital? Caleb had contacts. He worked with a small department 2 counties over off the books, favor for favor kind of people. He got a friend on the inside to swap my paperwork, list me as deceased by overdose under an alias, and transfer me to a safe recovery unit under sedation. The media wouldn't report it. I wasn't famous. I wasn't viral. I was just conveniently gone. By the next day, my parents had called the insurance company. And I watched through a hidden hallway camera as my mother laughed over the phone. "Yes," she said sweetly. "It's awful. She had so much potential, but she was always unstable. We tried our best." They didn't know that same footage was being sent directly to Caleb's burner phone. He watched it twice. "They'll collect within the week," he said, "and we'll let them." I raised an eyebrow. "Then what?" I asked. He smiled. "Then we show up to your funeral." The hardest part was staying hidden for 10 days. No phone, no internet, no contact, just silence. The recovery unit was sterile and safe, tucked behind a nursing home in a part of town my parents never visited. Caleb checked in every day, brought me takeout, updates, and a burner phone loaded only with the footage of their betrayal. I watched it over and over. My father fake crying. My mother practicing her eulogy in the mirror. She was troubled, but she mattered. She mattered so much. They practiced grief like it was a script. Even Lily, my sister, called them strong. "She's in a better place," my mother told her. And then they posted the funeral invitation on Facebook, a quiet memorial, private, family only, closed casket, cremation, per her wishes. I never wanted to be cremated. They just didn't want anyone opening the box and realizing it was full of ashes from a donation bin. It didn't matter, and because I was going to walk in alive, not screaming, not crying, smiling. And beside me, the cop who helped me burn them down without touching a match. The morning of the funeral was gray, not stormy or dramatic, just muted, like the sky was tired of pretending too. I stared at myself in the mirror of the safe unit's bathroom. Alive. Barely a scar left on the outside, but the inside? Torn apart and stitched back together with fury, disbelief, and something harder than pain strategy. Caleb stood in the hallway, already dressed in a dark blazer, calm as ever. "You sure?" he asked. I nodded. "I want them to see me breathe." We drove across county lines in a black SUV with windows tinted just enough to blur suspicion. Caleb had arranged the vehicle through an impound auction, untraceable, clean, temporary. Just like me. I sat in the passenger seat watching the trees blur by as we approached the church. My palms itched, my breath was shallow, but I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I was ready. Caleb parked 2 blocks away. The funeral was being held at a small Catholic chapel just outside town. Simple, respectable, closed to the public. It looked exactly how they wanted it to look. A tragic but tasteful send-off for their broken daughter. The one they did everything for. They thought they'd buried me. Instead, they'd lit the stage. As we walked toward the chapel, I pulled my hood up and adjusted the sunglasses Caleb gave me. Not to hide, just to delay the reveal. I wanted to see the whites of their eyes when it happened. I wanted to see the lie collapse in real time. When we reached the outer lawn, Caleb leaned in. "Security cam on the main door. I'll loop it. Go around back. Wait for my signal." I moved like a ghost. Past a row of sad white lilies and cheap folding chairs. Inside, I could already hear my mother's voice echoing softly over the PA. She was speaking, giving my eulogy. Cassidy was difficult at times, she began, her tone careful, practiced. But she was also radiant, so full of life. She just lost her way. My fist clenched. I waited just outside the back entrance of the chapel, behind a stack of unused hymnals. Caleb's voice buzzed quietly in my earpiece. "Now." I opened the side door. Softly, quietly, just as she said the words. "We'll always remember her as she was hopeful, sweet, trying her best." I stepped into the aisle and removed my hood. Gasps rippled across the pews like thunder under the surface. One woman stood up and dropped her prayer book. A cousin turned completely white. Then came the silence. The kind of silence that feels like air collapsing. My mother froze at the podium. Her mouth hung open, still forming the next lie. My father stood next to her, hand halfway to his pocket, like he wanted to vanish into it. I walked slowly down the center aisle, one step at a time. Alive. No limp, no weakness, nothing broken. I stopped in front of the casket, a closed pine box that was never opened. Of course not. Because if someone had opened it, the whole thing would have fallen apart days ago. I turned to face the crowd. Then I looked directly at my mother. "Did I die too soon?" I asked. The room stayed silent. Caleb entered through the main doors behind me, his badge in hand, holstered, visible. My mother blinked. My father stepped forward, voice trembling. "Cassidy, what is this?" "What is this?" I repeated. "It's me, alive, at my own funeral." Someone in the third pew sobbed. Another person gasped and whispered, "Is this real?" I held up the printed bank statement I brought it in my coat pocket. "Here's what's real," I said. $765,000 deposited into an account 2 days ago. Payout from 2 life insurance policies taken out under my name. I paused. "And here's the letter you gave the insurance company claiming I left a note, that I'd finally given up." Caleb walked to the front and placed a USB drive on the pulpit. "This is footage of both parents discussing the insurance plan while their daughter was on life support. And here," he added, pulling out a copy of the medical report, is the evidence she was sedated, not terminal. Gasps again, now louder, more frantic. Someone whispered, "Isn't that fraud?" "Yes," I said, turning to the crowd. "It's fraud." My mother finally found her voice. "You were suicidal," she blurted. "We didn't know you'd wake up. We were grieving." I stared at her. "You weren't grieving, you were calculating." I turned to the casket, knocked on the lid. "I wonder what you would have buried in here if I hadn't gotten out. Ashes, a stranger's remains, or maybe just receipts." She stuttered. "You don't understand how much we gave you. You gave me a fake funeral." My father's face was red now, not from guilt, from fear. And that's when Caleb raised his voice. "Detective Caleb Monroe, State Financial Crimes Division," he announced. "Due to multiple recorded attempts to falsify a death claim, this scene is now under investigation." Murmurs exploded. People stood. Phones came out. My mother's mouth opened, but no sound came. My father backed toward the wall like a rat looking for a crack to escape. "And me?" I looked at my sister Lily, who sat in the second row, stunned, gripping her purse like it was a lifeline. She didn't know. I could see it on her face. She hadn't been part of it. She mouthed, "You're alive?" I nodded. She started crying. I stepped down from the altar and walked toward the doors. No need to stay. No need to scream. The crowd would do that for me now. Because the truth was louder than I'd ever be. And I still had one more thing to do. One more page to turn. The funeral made the news. Not the national news, not at first, but enough to trend locally, then virally online under the headline, "Woman crashes her own funeral after parents faked her death for insurance money." The photos were grainy, but they caught everything that mattered. My mother mid-scream. My father halfway to fainting. Caleb holding up the USB like a badge of divine justice. I never spoke to reporters. Didn't need to. The footage spoke for itself. Insurance fraud, medical deception, abuse of power, abandonment. Every word they ever used to paint me as unstable now turned against them. She was difficult, they said. But now I was focused. She was dramatic, they insisted. But now I was undeniable. The state opened a formal investigation within 48 hours. The insurance companies froze the accounts. And the payout? Held indefinitely pending legal review. I didn't press charges, not right away. Because what I had in mind wasn't a courtroom ending. It was slower, more permanent. The kind of justice that keeps them up at night, wondering if this is the day it all collapses. The police questioned them. More than once. They denied everything, of course, said they were confused, claimed the paperwork was forged. But the voice recordings didn't lie. And neither did the video of my mother smiling into the mirror, rehearsing a eulogy for a daughter who wasn't dead. They were never arrested. Not yet. But that was fine. Because I had something better than handcuffs. Silence. And leverage. 2 weeks after the funeral, I moved into a new apartment under my real name, finally able to be myself again. No code names, no shadows, no fear. I started working as a trauma recovery advocate. Not because it was trendy, because I'd lived through every kind of betrayal the system and family could offer. And I'd made it out with proof. Proof that survival didn't have to look like forgiveness. It could look like freedom. Caleb checked in, sometimes brought coffee, asked if I was sleeping better. I always said yes. But I never slept better than the night I mailed them the final envelope. Inside? Not legal threats, not evidence. Just a simple invoice. Titled, "The Cost of Burying a Daughter Alive." Below it, one line. $0 paid in full, but you'll owe me for life. And one more item, a black and white photo. Of me. Standing at the altar, alive. Behind me, their frozen faces captured forever in public shame. I never heard back. But I didn't need to. Because months later, I got a call from a distant relative, an aunt I barely knew. "I just wanted you to know. Your parents left town, quietly, sold the house. Nobody's heard from them. Where'd they go? Doesn't matter, she said. They can't hide from what they did. People don't forget that kind of thing. Neither do I. But I don't hold it anymore. I carry it like a scar proof that I came back from the dead not to haunt them, but to outlive them. Because the truth didn't kill me. It resurrected me. And they buried the wrong body. And now they're buried in what they built. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.